Just before sunset, in the quiet seclusion of a lake deep within Paris's Bois de Boulogne, two joggers passed a man standing alone beside two medium-sized suitcases. At first, the moment seemed unremarkable, just another stranger in the park, but as they continued on, one of the joggers glanced back. Something about the suitcases caught his eye. He looked closer at the zippers, and what he saw made him freeze. He grabbed his friend, urging him to look, and sure enough, the second jogger saw the same thing and realized what it was. Without another word, the pair didn't jog. Instead, they sprinted away from the lakeside, hearts pounding, and frantically called the police. Issei Sagawa was born in 1949 into a wealthy family in Kobe, Japan. He was a sickly, shy kid who spent a lot of time reading and fell in love with literature. But even early on, there were signs something was very wrong. He later admitted that even in first grade, seeing a classmate's thigh stirred some really dark, cannibalistic thoughts. As a teen, things got worse. In his early 20s, he earned a graduate degree in English literature, but his disturbing impulses didn't go away. When he was 24, he broke into a woman's apartment in Tokyo, planning to cut off a piece of her flesh to eat. He was caught and charged with attempted murder, but his father, who had money and influence, quietly paid off the situation, and the charges were dropped. In 1977, Sagawa moved to Paris to work on a PhD. He frequently brought sex workers home, and every night he tried to build up the nerve to shoot one of them so he could eat them. But each time, he froze up at the last second. Eventually, these urges boiled over. On June 11th, 1981, he invited a Dutch classmate, 25-year-old René Hartevelt, to his small apartment in Paris under the pretense of studying poetry. She trusted him and started reading a German poem aloud while sitting with her back to him. That's when he quietly pulled out a .22 rifle and shot her in the neck. She died instantly. Sagawa passed out from the shock, but when he woke up, he realized this was the moment he'd been planning for, and went through with his horrific plan. Sagawa couldn't actually bite through her skin with his teeth, so he went out and bought a butcher knife instead. Over the next couple of days, he started eating parts of René's body, sometimes cooking the meat, other times eating it raw. He later admitted to eating most of her breasts, face, butt, feet, thighs, and neck. He kept what was left in his fridge and, disturbingly, took photos of the body throughout the process. Years later, he told a journalist he just wanted to know what human flesh tasted like, specifically that of a young, beautiful woman. He compared biting into her hip to kissing a lover, and said the whole thing became an obsession. Once the body started decomposing, Sagawa panicked. He cut up the rest and packed the remains into 2 large suitcases. Just before sunset, he brought the suitcases to a quiet lake in Paris's Bois de Boulogne. That's when the 2 joggers mentioned at the beginning of the story spotted him. They saw blood dripping from the zippers and immediately contacted police. By the time officers arrived, Sagawa was already gone. René's family had already reported her missing, and it didn't take long for investigators to connect the dots. 4 days after the murder, Sagawa was arrested. He didn't deny any of it. As for why he did it, his own words paint a disturbing picture. He said he was drawn to René for her youth, beauty, and health, all things he felt he lacked as a short, frail man. He famously said, "I'm a very short, ugly, small man, so I always admire big, strong, healthy people, especially beautiful girls. In my mind, eat and being eaten is the same." He even said he wouldn't mind being eaten by someone like her. He saw the act of eating her as a way of absorbing her vitality. He put it like this: "When you fall in love, you really want to kiss her. It's just the same. I just wanted to taste her. I'm a cannibal. It's an obsession." He even claimed his goal wasn't necessarily to kill her. He just wanted to taste her while she was still alive, though obviously no one believes that justifies anything. Psychologists later diagnosed him with severe sexual perversion, but the case never actually went to a standard criminal trial. After his 1981 arrest in France, Sagawa spent 2 years in custody while doctors evaluated him. In 1984, a court ruled him legally insane and unfit to stand trial. He was sent to a psychiatric hospital instead. Eventually, France decided they didn't want to keep him locked up forever, so they deported him to Japan. The issue was, they never gave Japan any of the court documents. Since no formal conviction had been made, Japanese authorities couldn't legally charge him with anything. Once he arrived in Tokyo's Matsuzawa hospital, Japanese doctors started their own evaluation. Unlike the French doctors, the psychiatrists in Japan actually found Sagawa sane. They said he didn't have any kind of brain damage like the earlier assessments claimed, and didn't need psychiatric care. In fact, the Japanese doctors thought he should be in prison, not in a hospital. But here's the weird legal twist. Because the French had closed the case and never handed over the official court documents, Japan had no legal grounds to charge him. No indictment, no files, nothing. One Tokyo police officer later explained that since they couldn't access any of the French evidence, they had nothing to build a case on. So in 1986, when Sagawa was released from the hospital, he basically walked free. No charges, no prison time, nothing. And somehow, instead of disappearing from the public eye, he became a bit of a celebrity in Japan. Tabloids nicknamed him the Kobe Cannibal, and Sagawa totally leaned into the attention. Throughout the late 80s and 90s, he gave interviews, made TV appearances, and even wrote about the murder in his own memoir, In the Fog, sometimes translated as In the Mist. He didn't stop there. He also illustrated manga based on the killing, and even starred in a bizarre adult film with cannibal themes called The Bedroom. Japanese media was both horrified and fascinated. He got invited to speak at universities, wrote magazine columns, and posed for apartment photo shoots where he'd be laughing and joking. One newspaper columnist even pointed out how some people started calling him Sagawa-kun, a nickname usually reserved for cute boys, as if he were a plaything rather than a monster. Eventually, though, that dark fame started to wear off. By the early 2000s, publishers and the media lost interest in him. He reportedly struggled with money and began living in poverty. After a stroke in 2013 left him disabled, he became more reclusive, living quietly with his younger brother just outside Tokyo and relying on welfare. In some of his final interviews, Sagawa did express a kind of regret, not necessarily for the crime itself, but for how his life had played out. He called his fame a terrible punishment, saying he was haunted by the fact that he was only known for something so horrific. Issei Sagawa died of pneumonia on November 24, 2022, at the age of 73. Honestly, I still can't fully wrap my head around how someone could do something so horrific and then just walk free. The fact that legal loopholes let Sagawa live out the rest of his life as a minor celebrity is surreal, and honestly kind of disturbing. It raises a lot of uncomfortable questions about how justice systems communicate, or fail to, how the media sensationalizes killers, and how society sometimes treats real-life horror like entertainment. I'm not saying he should have been forgotten, but the fact that he got fame and a platform after doing something so brutal just doesn't sit right. And even though he expressed regret later in life, it feels more like he regretted being remembered only for the murder, not for actually doing it.